I have been knitting this shawl with Bernat Fleurettes yarn. You can see I haven't even woven in my ends yet. What I did is I started down at the bottom corner, and then I just kept getting bigger and bigger as I went. And it's nice, soft, fluffy yarn. It has these little blossoms or florets that pop out every once in a while. And I only have 3 skeins of the Bernat Fleurettes yarn. And to add a little bit of length to my project, I added some Bernat Satin in the color Stone to fill in a couple areas. And I'm going to finish up the shawl soon because I'm almost out of my last skein of the florets. So I'll finish it up with some more of the satin in the color Stone. And then when I finish that, I'm going to pick up along the edge with a crochet hook and do a border. So, when I first made my first video about Bernat Fleurettes yarn, I was just getting to know it. And now after working on a project with it, I've gotten to know it a little bit better. And just a reminder, the Fleurettes yarn is normal. It just flows along, and then all of a sudden you have these little loops. So what I have learned is as I'm working with it, I need to watch it if it gets twisted like that. I need to untwist it to make all of my loops nice and straight, and then it's easier to work with. I'll show you as I'm knitting this row. And I'm just using garter stitch for this project. So I'm just knitting across here. I think I'm going to turn that light away a little bit. It seems to be getting some glare. There, that's a little better. So now we just knit along. And then I'm starting to feel the loops from the little blossom in my hand, so I start to hold it a little bit differently there. I just open up my hand and let it flow through instead of holding it tight. If I hold it tight, then those loops will get mangled and twisted. And then when I get to this point, I just start holding it with 2 fingers, really 2 or 3, so that it's easier to maneuver without messing up those loopy sections. And now I'm really getting close to the loopy section. And one thing to watch for as you're working with this yarn is to watch out on these loops that have already been worked on the rows before. Sometimes your hand will grab hold of one of those loops like over here by accident, and then you'll squish it and it'll stretch this out. So be careful about that. I'll show you some more about that in a minute. Anyway, so now I'm ready to work where a loop is. So this section here, you'll see some of the loops have gotten twisted around to the other side. So just untwist it so that they're all hanging straight down, and then wrap it. Let me move that down so you can see better. Then wrap it around. And when you work, when you pull the strand through, make sure that there's nothing between the needles, like that no loop. None of these loops are between the needles. Make sure you pull the strand that's right in between those loops, and then gently slide it over. And now I'm going to work another loopy section. Make sure they're all the same direction. So put your needle through, and then hold that around like that. And then don't pull a loop through. Pull the section in between the loops. So there. Wrap it, and then find a section between the loops to pull through. And then you're finished with the loops. Then you're back to just normal knitting with a single strand. And now we're at the section where loops were worked on the row before. And at this part, you want to not put your needle all the way through because it could stretch out and pull those loops through. So I slide it down to the tip of my needle, and then I'll put the very tip of my needle through, and I wrap it, and I pull it through really, so I don't want to push this all the way up through there, because it could pull those loops through from the row before. So just the tip. You just put the tip through and wrap it, and then pull through just with the tip. And that way none of these pretty loops get messed up. And then I'm just working regular yarn in between, and I've got just regular yarn from the rows before. I don't have the loops. So that's where it gets easy, back to normal standard knitting. So hopefully my advice will help you. So let me get to a point where I've got some loops from rows before, like I was talking about, that sometimes you'll grab by accident. So let me get to that. Okay, this might be a section here that'll work good for that. Okay, right here I got a bunch of loops from before. You want to be careful as you're working and you're wrapping that you don't grab one of these loops tight while you're pulling that through, because if you grab that tight while you're pulling this through, it'll stretch out that loop. So that's what I was talking about. Just make sure you're not grabbing any of those loops from the row before as you're pulling and wrapping your yarn. So hopefully some of these tips will help you as you work with Bernat Fleurettes yarn yourself. Talk to you soon. Bye.